I've just received a delivery from TaylorMade. I've got some fresh MG3 wedges here. They're all new designs, they look nice and shiny, nice and sharp. And in this video, I'll give you everything you need to know about the brand new design. And I'm also going to pose a question to you. Is it time for you to upgrade your wedges? To answer the question, compare the new Milled Grind 3, the latest iteration, with the previous generation, the Milled Grind 2. I've got a fairly well-worn wedge here. It's been through the wars, it's about 2 years old. And yeah, just try and give you an idea of when you should really be considering upgrading your wedges. First off though, before I head out onto the golf course, if you're new to our YouTube channel, do not forget to subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up, and any questions, just leave them in the comments and I'll get back to you. Right, first up, full approach shots. I've got the 50 degree of the MG3, and to try and help with this, TaylorMade have incorporated a new thick, thin design. So you can maybe see it here out towards the sort of top of the blade. In the 50, it's quite a thin design, and that's to push the CG lower down, give you a kind of flight that would match up with your shortest iron. When we go into the likes of the 56 or the 60, the higher lofted wedges, it gets thicker out to that top line. Move the CG higher up and give you a sort of lower, more penetrating flight, try and give you more control. There's also progressive hosel lengths, so just technologies that TaylorMade are trying to leverage just to give you the control you want with each of the different wedges, lofts. Got so many options to choose from. And yeah, I think here, you know, I've got about 110 into the breeze, full 50, should be on the number, should provide plenty of control. I can attack that pin. So now I've got the MG2 in my hand. It's been used quite a bit, it's fairly well worn. What's the difference in spin going to be like on a shot like this, you know, that full approach shot with your gap wedge? Yeah, very similar strikes, look fairly similar in terms of distance. Let's go see what they're like. As I said, two very similar strikes, two good shots down the pin, just didn't quite have the legs into this wind. And as you can see, they're both stopping power, spin, the exact same in this occasion. There's not much in it. This is the MG2, you know, it's rolled out, what, a couple of feet, and then the MG3 likewise. So I think, you know, when you are going to a fresh set of wedges, you might not notice such a big gap in the spin rates on those full approach shots. Unless your wedges are really old and the grooves are really battered, you might then start to notice a big difference. But you know, on days like this, soft greens, we're getting into winter time, those full shots, I'm not expecting too big of a difference. But both of them, you know, plenty of spin, plenty of stopping power. I can be aggressive with those full shots. So one of the big talking points with the MG3 wedges is that raw face technology is back. Once you take the sticker off, this face is allowed to rust over time, and where that should really come into its own, according to TaylorMade, is in positions like this. Now the sun might be shining right now, but it's been an on and off drizzly kind of day, so they say, especially in wet conditions, once that face has been allowed to rust up, it means it will retain better spin in those wet conditions and also just help retain spin throughout the life of the wedge. So I think it's a good example where the old wedge might actually prove to be a bit better, given the fact that technology hasn't had the time to bed in, as it were. So I'm going to hit a full shot out the sort of damp rough with the 56 of the MG3 and then the MG2. We'll just see if there's a difference in the kind of spin I'm seeing up at the green. So giving myself a similar lie, but let's see if the raw technology, let's see if it can help me out here. So two fairly similar strikes. First up, you can see run out, what, you know, just a few feet, good stopping power out the rough, and that is the MG3. And then here, you can see my pitch mark, it's run out a wee bit more with the MG2, so, you know, not a scientific test by any means, but you can see even though that raw face technology, it's probably helped me retain quite a good bit of spin, it's just not going to be as good as those fresh grooves. Fresh grooves, they're the things that are going to give you as much stopping power as possible, you know, whether that's out the middle of the fairway or wet rough. It's just, that's the difference they can make. Now yes, we have raw face technology in the MG3 wedges, but one of the big tech improvements is the addition of new raised micro ribs. Now you can maybe make it out on the club face or show you a close-up, and if you run your finger up and down the face, if you get your hands on them, you'll actually feel these wee ribs. Now they're just placed in between the grooves themselves to try and give you a little bit more grab, a little bit more spin, you know, maybe 100 RPM, 200 RPM more spin on a shot like this. that kind of partial shot, 20, 30, 40 yards, where it's really hard to generate spin, but it can be so important. You know, here I've got, I think it's what, about 35 yards to that pin. It's just on. So, you know, if I'm going to stick this close with my wedges, I need to be aggressive through the ball. And yeah, I need to trust that it's going to grab. Otherwise, I'll be left either short of the green, or I'll run out quite a bit and have a tricky putt down the slope. So, no surprises if I knife one of these, but I'll give it my best go. Now, what are the chances of that? I actually hit a good shot. But yeah, you can just see, you know, I'm getting that little bit of grab, second, third bounce. Greens are soft today, but it's just giving me that added bit of control. I'm being aggressive towards that pin, and that's what fresh grooves and something like that new technology can help you to do. And that was a wee bit thinny, as predicted. No amount of raised micro ribs or fresh grooves will stop that one. So now on to the MG2, and this is the place where, you know, switching out your wedges, upgrading, can really have a big effect, because, you know, your grooves, they lose their spin over time, they wear out, and yeah, just on this kind of shot, I know that I probably won't be able to be as aggressive because I'm not going to get the spin from these worn out grooves. Do you know what? It's not bad. In fact, it's very good, but you can just see the difference. It rolled out quite a bit more. I could fly the MG3 a bit further and expect it to grab, where with the MG2, I landed it just short of the green and it rolled out to the pin. Good shots, you know, different ways of going about it, but visually I can just see straight away I'm not getting the same level of spin and control. So as I say, if you're using well-worn grooves, that's why upgrading can be so important. So the MG3, a traditional kind of bladed wedge design, something that's just going to help you all the shots around the greens, flop shots, bunker shots, or just a simple pitch and run. TaylorMade have also lowered the leading edge ever so slightly, so just something that will probably give you a wee bit more confidence on shots like this, just to nip it off the turf. And all the groove technologies should mean I can be nice and aggressive, just get a wee bit of grab on that second or third bounce, and yeah, it's a fairly simple shot, but you know, so long as you've got the right fit for your game, the right bounce options, right lofts, yeah, makes this shot really easy. So how big a difference will the older MG2 make? Well, unless you're a really accomplished player, unless you can nip it off the turf consistently, you might not notice too big of a change, because after all, you know, shots like this, it's all about the strike. You know, I've played that really nicely. You can see it just doesn't quite have the same level of grab as the MG3, so I've had to fly it a wee bit further and then hope that, you know, it does put the brakes on. Yeah, there's a good example, just running out that little bit more, flying it about the same distance, but it's running out more. So it's all about, you know, determining how old are your wedges. If you're playing a few times a week, you're playing consistently, they'll get worn down and you won't get the control even on these shots like this. So you've got standard low and high bounce options with the MG3. I've got the standard bounce with me today, and it's just really a jack of all trades, so it's something that will give you a little bit more assistance out the bunkers compared with the low bounce. If you want maximum help in the bunkers, high bounce, that's the one for you. But yeah, it's just, you know, it'll do the job nicely. I just open up that face, you know, plenty of bounce to work with for me. Just splash it out, should be a piece of cake. Yeah, caught it a wee bit heavy, but it's run out nice, ideal. Now switching over to the MG2, again standard bounce option, and this is one area where, again, upgrading your wedges, you might not notice that big of a difference unless you're a really accomplished bunker player who can nip it right off the top of the sand. You're not, are you going to really notice much of a difference in spin or control? There's been some slight differences, slight changes made to the sole grinds with the MG3, but not enough that in this bunker shot I'm going to notice masses of difference. So, you know, if I play the same kind of shot, I should expect to see the same kind of results. There you go. Caught that one a little bit cleaner, flew it a little bit further. And yeah, you know, as I say, out the bunkers, unless you're a really accomplished player, putting some fresh wedges in the bag you're probably not going to notice a difference. Where you can really get the benefit is by getting the right bounce option for your game. Get fitted for your wedges, because you might find that something like the high bounce really helps you out the bunkers. Having that bounce just makes it easier to glide through the sand. It doesn't dig in as much. And yeah, these are the things you need to consider when going and getting your wedges. Make sure you get fitted. So I'll quickly run you through the numbers I got earlier on today, which I think just highlights some of the points I was making out on the golf course. Now, I tested earlier on today with my Skytrack launch monitor and Pro V1 golf balls, and with the MG3 wedges, brand new wedges out the packet today, no real surprises with the kind of numbers I was seeing, both in terms of launch and spin. So, trying to hit that 110-yard shot, and you can just see that I'm over 10,000 RPM of spin. The launch angle is in a kind of flatter lower window, which I like to see, so the peak height isn't soaring through the air, and yeah, just giving that controlled flight, lots of spin, and yeah, not really a great surprise. And then when you look at the sort of more partial shot, again, retaining great spin, the numbers I would expect to see. When we then pull in the MG2, it's worn out grooves, it's, as I say, it's been used quite a bit. You can see with that full shot, although it wasn't seeing out in the golf course, you can see with the numbers, I am losing quite a bit of spin, almost 1,000 RPM. Now, these wedges, as I say, they're fairly well worn. They're not the absolute battle and bruise wedges. They're not, dead, shall we say. But you can see that the fact that they have been used quite a bit, I'm sacrificing control. And then when you pull in that partial shot again, something of a shorter distance, again, not quite as much spin dropping off now around about the 500 RPM mark, but it's those fine margins of spin that can make all the difference between maybe getting up and down or setting yourself up for a birthday opportunity. So yeah, it's something you need to consider when thinking about upgrading your wedges. Just how much spin are you losing out on? How much performance, how much control? And yeah, it's something that you need to think about for yourself. So for some final thoughts on the MG3 wedges, and there weren't really any surprises out in the golf course. They're a nice traditional bladed style wedge that, in my opinion, look fantastic. That's probably something that stood out most. They marry up really well with TaylorMade's P series, so if you've got a set of the P790s or the P770s, you could transition into these no bother. Very similar look, minimalist design. And yeah, just no surprises. I can pull off all the shots, I'm getting good spin, good control. But the whole point of this video is it time to upgrade? Well, if I was using these MG2 wedges, if they were in my bag, I probably wouldn't quite yet. I reckon I could get through the winter with these wedges and I'd be okay. If I play, I tend to play quite a bit of golf throughout the winter months, these will do me fine. I'm not playing competitive golf, the greens are really soft, so having that added control and spin isn't the be all and end all. However, by the time I get into the springtime, greens are firming up, I'm needing as much control and spin as possible as the meadows begin. By the time I get through winter, these will have probably seen better days, and that's when I would start to really notice the difference and when I would look to upgrade. So if you are looking to upgrade, some new wedges, MG3, a great option for you. Now, if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments and I'll get back to you. Do not forget to give this video a thumbs up, and thanks for watching.